Ryan was my fiancé, yet at his own birthday party, he announced that he was going to marry another woman. Everyone turned to look at me, stunned. In the midst of the awkward silence, I took the lead and clapped, then offered them a ring as a blessing. "Wishing you both a long and happy life together, and a child soon," I said. I took off the ring from my finger and handed it over, but no one reached out to take it. Ryan stood there with a dark expression on his face, while the girl beside him looked uneasy, clutching his arm. I sighed, placed the ring on the table next to me, and casually grabbed someone nearby. It seemed to be Jacob, the youngest son of the Campbell family, who always followed Ryan around. He stared at me blankly. "What's wrong, Jacob? Did you drink?" I asked. He replied, "No." I tossed him my car keys and said, "Drive me home." "Okay," he responded cheerfully. We had just taken a few steps when Ryan ran over and grabbed my arm. "Emma, what do you mean by this?" he demanded. I rubbed my temples. A detail of our new product had been leaked ahead of time, so we had to scrap everything and start over. We worked through the night. After the early morning meeting, I went straight to the temporary production room and only returned in the afternoon. Then I went out to get him a gift. Originally, I just wanted to say happy birthday and leave. I glanced at my watch. It was 8 p.m. I had another meeting at 10 and a flight to Paris at 6 in the morning. "Ryan, I'm exhausted. I don't have time to play with you." He stood there completely at a loss. I was really tired. My temples felt like nails were drilling into them. Without another word, I shook off Ryan's grip and left. Jacob drove me home. As I was getting out of the car, I handed him the birthday gift I had prepared for Ryan. It was a car key. Ryan had been wanting that car for a long time, and it had taken me quite a bit of effort to get it for him. Jacob gasped. "You're giving this to me?" he asked. "Yes. Just take the key and pick it up from the dealership," I replied. "Thanks, sis. This is so genuine. Emma, are you really breaking up with Ryan?" "Yes. The engagement is off. If anyone asks, you don't need to hide it." "Got it. Honestly, Ryan really went too far this time. You should have taught him a lesson long ago." I smiled faintly, waved him off, and went inside. After showering, I forced myself to stay awake for the meeting. As soon as it ended, I collapsed straight onto the bed. I didn't even need a moment to decompress. The next morning, when my assistant opened the door to wake me up, I was still groggy, as if I hadn't slept at all, just closed my eyes for a while. My phone was full of unread messages and missed calls. Some people were curious about what had happened between Ryan and me. Some were gossiping about whether we were breaking up, and some were concerned about how I was doing. But more people, like Jacob, said I should have taught Ryan a lesson a long time ago. To everyone else, they probably thought I was just having a fight with him. In their eyes, Emmeline loved Ryan so much she'd completely lost her self-respect. Ryan had been the first person I ever liked back in high school. Back then, he was bright and arrogant, no one could ignore him, and I was no exception. So I confessed to him, "Ryan, can I be your girlfriend?" He looked at me, eyes filled with indifference. "I don't like top students." Because of that one sentence, I don't like top students. My young, reckless self did a lot of foolish things. I dyed my hair, got piercings, got a tattoo, skipped class, and hung out at bars. I started sneaking around with Ryan, until one day he showed up in front of me with a girl dressed in pure white, like a saint, and introduced her. "This is my girlfriend." That's when I suddenly understood it wasn't that he didn't like good girls, he just didn't like me. Ryan wasn't faithful, but he was a flirt. He'd had many girlfriends. Later in our sophomore year of college, I got engaged to him. We skipped the whole boyfriend-girlfriend phase and went straight to being engaged. That topic hit a sore spot for Ryan. He grabbed me by the neck and demanded, "So you really stooped that low just to be with me? Don't you realize I will never love you?" How did I respond back then? "Oh right, I remember now." I said to him, "It's okay. I don't need you to love me. I just need you to marry me." From sophomore year until now, Ryan had been my fiancé for 6 years. During those 6 years, his absurd behavior never stopped. He flirted with all kinds of women. Sometimes I even had to help him clean up the mess afterward. And every time, I only asked him one thing. "Did you sleep with her?" Whether he did or not didn't matter to me. I told him, "If you did, then you're free." But the strange thing was, Despite being surrounded by countless women, he never actually touched any of them. I had no idea what he was trying so hard to hold on to. It was 3 days after I returned from Paris. During those 3 days, I hadn't contacted Ryan at all, but people in our social circle kept reporting his whereabouts to me, like how the woman he said he was going to marry had already been dismissed, how he was now partying at bars every night, and how even his father had threatened to disown him. And, surprisingly, the car I gave to Jacob, the youngest Campbell, was bought back by Ryan for twice the price. What shocked me even more was that when I got off the plane, I actually saw Ryan waiting for me. Even with sunglasses on, he couldn't hide how pale he looked. He said, "My dad told me to pick you up and bring you to our house for dinner, to apologize." I replied, "I've got things to do. I can't make it. I'll call Mr. Carter and apologize myself." Ryan looked at me for a long moment, then turned and left, only saying coldly, "Do whatever you want." I didn't take it personally and drove straight home. It wasn't that I was brushing him off. I really did have something going on. My grandfather had called and asked me to come home for dinner. He said it was dinner, but I knew it was more like an interrogation. "I heard you and Ryan had a fight," he started, offering me an out. But I didn't take it. "Grandpa, I want to break off the engagement with the Carter family." His face darkened. "I'll allow you to have a temper. After all, our Lynn family isn't to be pushed around. But that doesn't mean I approve of you breaking off the engagement. I want to end it, Grandpa." He slammed his hand on the table. "Kneel." I did as he said and knelt down in front of him. Do you realize how much damage breaking this engagement would cause? Of course I did. It had been 6 years since we got engaged to the Carter family. In that time, our partnership had grown incredibly solid. If it fell apart now, we'd lose a lot, not just easily dissolved joint ventures or fragile partnerships. Even something as stable as glass would shatter and peel. "What if I could recover the losses?" I asked. Grandpa calmed down. He tapped the table lightly with his fingers. "Then let's wait until you do. We'll talk again after that." So when I left the family estate, I sent a message to our main rival. "Mr. Grant, would you like a wife?" Lucas Grant was the model golden child that every parent compared their kids to. At some point in your life, you'd hear, "Why can't you be more like Lucas?" A well-rounded elite in every sense: ethics, academics, athletics, looks, work ethic. He had no interest in dealing with rebellious types like me. It wasn't until I got involved with the family business that we even started crossing paths. What can I say? He was tough, formidable, even, but not unbeatable. Like last month, when we both bid on the same piece of land, I beat him by slightly undercutting his psychological price point, which has remained my bragging right in the circle ever since. After I sent the message, Lucas didn't reply for a long time. It wasn't until 11 p.m. that I finally got a response. A single question mark. I sat up straight, laughing into my phone like someone resurrected from their deathbed. I immediately called him. "Busy, Mr. Grant?" I asked. Lucas chuckled politely. "Miss Lynn? To what do I owe the pleasure of a call from you?" I got straight to the point. "So, about the question I asked you earlier, any thoughts?" There was a pause on the other end. Then he said, "Wife?" I gasped a little. That word hit me straight in the chest. So direct? Should I respond with something just as bold? While I was hesitating, he spoke again. "Is Miss Lynn now moonlighting as a matchmaker?" Phew, thank goodness his mouth wasn't faster than his brain. "Well, Mr. Grant, you're at the age to consider marriage, and I happen to have a perfect candidate in mind." I had no idea if Mr. Grant was actually considering it or not. The silence on the other end felt deathly quiet. Parting is such sweet sorrow, I thought. Silence tonight is my own Cambridge Bridge. When I looked down at my phone again, the call had already ended. But of course, a position like his wasn't something I'd give up so easily. So the next morning, I showed up at Lucas Grant's company unannounced. When he saw me, Lucas took off his glasses and rubbed his temples. "What brings you here, Miss Lynn? Trying to pretend last night didn't happen?" I smiled and asked directly, "Mr. Grant, are you really not going to consider marrying me? It's a guaranteed win, no risk, high return." He looked at me for a moment. "You're serious? You thought I was joking last night?" "No, I thought you were drunk." "Well then," I said, meeting his gaze with full sincerity, "what about now?" Would you like to consider it? Lucas studied me and said, I heard you and Ryan had a falling out. So that's true? But tell me, why should I take over his mess? He didn't reject me outright, which meant there was room to negotiate. I'll give you half a point on the Waterway New Street project, I offered. Lucas tapped the table with his fingers. 3 points. You're taking advantage of the situation, I said, stunned. 1 point. 3. 1.5, that's my limit. 3, he insisted, clearly testing my patience. I was already gritting my teeth. Don't push it. Fine. 2 points, he said finally. Deal, I'm not doing this for money, I just enjoy being helpful. Shameless. But once Lucas agreed, I finally had enough leverage to negotiate with the Carter family. I arranged a meeting with Ryan's father. To my surprise, Ryan showed up too. He looked even more haggard than before. Before we entered the private room, he grabbed my arm. Why didn't you call me? He asked. This engagement is about the 2 of us. If you wanted to talk, why didn't you call? I looked at Ryan quietly. Sometimes I truly envied how simple he was, still so naive, even now. You're wrong, I replied. This engagement was never just about the 2 of us. Ryan stared at me, tightening his grip on my arm and pulling me closer as we entered the room. Mr. Carter was already seated at the head of the table. After a bit of small talk, he smiled kindly and said, I know Ryan upset you. That's why I brought him here today. If you want to hit him or yell at him, be my guest. I'll back you up. I smiled. Mr. Carter, the reason I asked you out today is to discuss the engagement between our families. I intend to dissolve it. The relaxed atmosphere immediately froze. Ryan stood up, wincing in pain. I don't agree, he said, enunciating each word clearly. Mr. Carter's face darkened. Sit down, Ryan. Ryan met his father's gaze and let out a cold laugh. What, making decisions behind my back again? You forced me into this engagement against my will, and now you want to cancel it without my consent too? What am I to you, a puppet? Mr. Carter slammed his hand on the table. What exactly do you want then? You opposed the engagement from the beginning. It's been 6 years of drama. Do you know how much shame you've brought to both the Carter and Lynn families? If you don't want to break it off, then what the hell have you been doing all this time? Ryan flinched, but said nothing. He eventually lowered his head. Mr. Carter shot him a long, hard stare. Get out. Ryan walked out, but not alone. He grabbed my arm and dragged me with him. Everything happened so fast that it felt like we were eloping. I didn't even have time to react. Ryan, what are you doing? I shouted. He tightened his grip and said nothing. I struggled, but the more I resisted, the harder he held on. You're hurting me. I finally yelled, furious. I started slapping at him to break free. That seemed to snap him out of it. He suddenly let go, panic flooding his face. Are you okay? I was drained, completely worn out. I honestly didn't know what Ryan was trying to do. I had always thought the main obstacle to ending this engagement would be the Carter family. And maybe Ryan would even help me. But now he was the first one standing in my way. Ryan, what the hell are you doing? I asked. Haven't you always wanted to end the engagement? So what's the problem now that I'm giving you exactly what you wanted? What are you making a scene about now? I asked. After hearing my question, Ryan let out a sudden laugh. It was more painful than crying. So, going along with what you want? Does what I want ever matter to any of you? Did any of you ever ask for my opinion before making decisions? Suddenly, I began to understand. So you're upset because I was the one who brought up breaking the engagement, and you feel like that hurt your pride? I said calmly. No problem. Then you do it. I'll even tell everyone in our circle that you dumped me. I gave a faint smile. Actually, we don't even have to go that far. Didn't you already announce at your birthday party that you had someone else you wanted to marry? This breakup just makes everything look more natural, doesn't it? Ryan stared at me. I never wanted to marry anyone else. I was silent for a few seconds. But you'll end up marrying someone else eventually. That was what I finally came to terms with that night at his birthday party. I had spent 6 years with him. I was exhausted. But Ryan, it was like he still hadn't had enough. Maybe that woman at the party wasn't who he truly wanted to marry. But sooner or later, he would get married. And me? I've never liked being passive. I needed to plan ahead and take control of my own fate. Ryan and I parted on bad terms. The last thing he said to me was, Emma, this time, you don't get to decide. Of course I didn't. But neither did he. This was something that had to be negotiated. Before meeting with Mr. Carter, I'd already had dinner with my grandfather. We talked briefly, mostly small talk, nothing more. But we both understood what wasn't being said. That same night, he gave his blessing. "I'm old," he said. "I can't keep up with you young people anymore. If this is what you want to do, then go ahead." The next day, I went straight to Mr. Carter's office. We talked for an hour. The engagement was officially terminated. We agreed to release the announcement on our respective websites at 8 a.m. the next morning. "So what exactly did you offer the Carter family?" Lucas asked later, no longer looking like the polished elite he'd been during the day, now slouched and completely relaxed. After leaving Mr. Carter's office, I called Lucas, hoping to invite him to dinner. Instead, he told me to come to his place. I hesitated at first, but then reminded myself that our relationship was about to change. Why pretend to be shy? Turned out, I overthought it. He simply had the day off and didn't want to leave the house. He wasn't trying to be a host either, just grilled 2 steaks and opened a bottle of wine. Still, it was surprisingly relaxing. "You think I'm the kind of person who endures humiliation in silence?" I asked. Lucas raised an eyebrow, looking intrigued. "I'm all ears," I explained. "Honestly, the Carter family doesn't have that much leverage over me. In these 6 years, we've both known the game. It was just mutually beneficial cooperation, nothing more. The only real pressure point was Clearwater Bay. That project was funded by the Carter family. My dad had signed a clause. If we broke off the engagement, they'd pull their investment. If that happened, the land would be a loss under my name, and it'd put a serious strain on my capital chain. That's why I desperately needed a new backer, someone with money, strength, and the willingness to help." "Not a great person, huh?" Lucas commented lazily. "Don't give me that look," I said, confused. He gave me a disdainful glance. "When you look at me like that, it makes me feel like I'm your sugar daddy." Something about that hit me hard. Could he read minds? "No way," I said, trying to play it off. "You're my savior." Lucas scoffed. "Oh, please, I saved you. And now, you're throwing yourself at me." He leaned back lazily in his chair. I blushed. "Don't flirt. Not allowed." By 9:30 p.m., we both pulled out our phones. "Tomorrow's the big announcement," I said. "You think it'd be too ruthless if I shorted Carter Group stock before the market opens?" Lucas gave a short laugh and ignored me. Curious, I glanced at his screen. "What are you doing?" When I saw the interface, I burst out laughing. "You're even worse than me." Lucas looked up. "Takes one to know one." A strange sense of unease crept up in my chest. "Who all did you buy into?" I asked. Of course, Lucas had shorted both the Carter and Lynn families. I wanted to pinch the bridge of my nose in frustration, but ended up muttering under my breath, "At least go easy on us. Don't completely tank my family's stock." The next morning, the engagement cancellation was officially announced, just as scheduled. The internet exploded. The entire social circle exploded. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, wave after wave of calls and messages asking what had happened. Completely overwhelmed, I finally posted just 4 words on my moments. "Don't ask. I'm busy." And I really was busy. There was still a group of board members I had to pacify. Right in the middle of a meeting, Ryan burst into the conference room. My assistant looked helpless and mouthed. I couldn't stop him. Ryan looked terrible. Bloodshot eyes, like he'd lost his mind. I told him calmly, "Wait in my office. I'll talk to you after the meeting." He scoffed coldly. "Emma Lynn, you're really something. You're brutal. Weren't you the one who said you liked me? Wasn't it you who chased after me all those years? Wasn't it you who insisted on marrying me? Wasn't it you who—" Thud. I threw a folder down on the table to cut him off. "Tanya, please continue the meeting," I said. "Yes, Miss Lynn." I gave Ryan one last glance before walking out of the room. He followed me into my office. "What, feeling embarrassed now?" he snapped. "Emma, this is all your fault. I never asked you to do anything. I never forced you. You've always been the one pushing me." I looked at Ryan coldly and let him finish. Then I said, "Yeah, it is pretty embarrassing. But it's not me who should be embarrassed. It's your entire Carter family." He stared at me like he wanted to devour me whole. I added, "Ryan, this is the first time you've stormed into one of my meetings, but it will be the last. If it happens again, I'll have security escort you out. We're all adults here," I continued, and adults play by adult rules. You can't just come and go as you please. He looked like someone had just struck him, his face drained of color in an instant. But you said you liked me, he murmured. Emma, you can't treat me like this. Looking at him like this, I did feel a little helpless. Ryan, can you get a grip? I said. Yes, I said I liked you, but do you even remember when I said that? The first time I told him I liked him, we were in high school. The last time I said it, we were still in high school. Back then, we were 17. Now, we're 26. It's been nearly a decade. In those 10 years, everything about me has changed. My interests, my tastes, my style. I don't even remember what it felt like to like him back then. And more importantly, did my liking him ever matter to him? Ryan stumbled back 2 steps, stunned. So, you haven't liked me for a long time? That's right. It's been a long time. All these years, everything I did, and you barely reacted. You didn't care if I kissed someone else. You acted like nothing happened. You even warned them not to post the pictures. I kept testing your limits, but you never had any. As long as we didn't sleep together, everything was okay. He gave a bitter laugh. As long as we didn't sleep together, right? Everyone thinks you're head over heels for me. But only I know. You never really loved me. His voice cracked. Why? Why is it that you get to love me when you want, stop when you want? Why do you get to decide when we're engaged, and when it ends? Emma Lynn, who gave you that right? I was a bit stunned for a moment. Then, without thinking, I answered, because now I have the power to. But right after I said it, I realized something wasn't right. I looked at him carefully. Ryan, you don't actually like me, do you? His whole body stiffened instantly, almost like a muscle reflex, and he was just about to deny it, but stopped himself. The whole thing felt absurd. Ryan, I asked, who taught you to love someone like this? He looked at me, and in that moment, I saw a flicker of hope in his eyes. I don't know how to love someone. All these years, I was wrong. I'll change. Can we not break off the engagement? It was the first time Ryan ever spoke to me so humbly, but it was completely unnecessary. Ryan, I said calmly, over these years, not only have I changed, but so have my standards for a partner. When I was young, I liked someone handsome and rebellious, but now I prefer someone who can stand beside me as an equal. You don't meet the mark. Ryan had never fit my criteria for a life partner, but Lucas did. I used to think, Ryan might be a little trouble, but as long as he doesn't cause real problems, it's fine. But after all these years, the truth is, he is the problem. Lucas called me. Your ex-fiancé is still pestering you? That's amusing. Mr. Grant, I teased, you sure keep up with the gossip. Lucas gave a cold chuckle. It's not that I keep up with gossip, it's just that your ex made such a scene, even I couldn't avoid it. The way he kept calling Ryan your ex over and over again. There was a strange bitterness in his tone. Still, I didn't think he was actually jealous. Lucas and I were the same type of people. If someone had caused a public stir around him, he'd be annoyed too. Just this once, I said, not happening again. Lucas replied, got it, and hung up. I told my assistant to inform the reception desk that Ryan would need an appointment if he ever tried to visit again. After a full day of calming down the board, I was finally catching my breath when, once again, Lucas called me. His tone was oddly flat. Your front desk told me to make an appointment. I blinked. I feel like I might have forgotten something. Not the point. I'm here, he said. He didn't say much else, but I understood immediately. Pass the phone to the front desk, I told him. After sorting that out, I instructed my assistant, from now on, if Lucas comes, let him up directly. Mr. Grant? My assistant looked stunned. I nodded. He gave me a silent thumbs up, which I found incredibly annoying. Lucas arrived, and he didn't come empty-handed. He brought dinner. I was hungry, but the amount he brought was way too much. I politely hinted that I didn't eat much. Lucas rolled his eyes. Can't I eat too? So annoying. We moved a few things around in my office and ate together while discussing the Clearwater Bay project. After all, he basically held the lifeline to my future now. I had to be completely transparent with him. By the time we wrapped up our talk, we were both full. I glanced at him. Don't tell me you came all this way just to deliver dinner. Lucas raised an eyebrow. I already met your grandfather. When are you coming to meet my parents? His words caught me off guard. I choked on my water. It was stuck in my throat, and I couldn't cough it out or swallow it down. Lucas watched me closely. You're not planning to use me and ditch me, are you? Still choking, I waved my hands. No, of course not. Only then did Lucas take pity on me and gently pat my back. He snorted. Pathetic. After a moment, I finally recovered, exhaling slowly. Honestly, I admitted, I'm not great at dealing with elders. My parents passed away when I was young. I was raised by my grandfather, and he was all about results. He raised me like an heir, not a granddaughter. Our relationship was built on utility. If you threaten the family's interests, you get punished. Emotions never mattered. Everything was strictly business. But Lucas's parents were different. The one who had ties to me was Lucas, not his mom and dad, and that made me uneasy. Lucas, however, didn't care. What's there to be uneasy about? Just give them what they like. My dad's into tea. My mom likes beauty and skincare. I took a deep breath. When? Next weekend. Works? Okay. Lucas frowned slightly. What's with that face? What face? I asked. He flicked my forehead. Don't act like you're going into battle or something. I'll be there. Being with Lucas was easy. He was someone who could help me, someone who could lead me. He always knew the right thing to say, never overstepped, never made me feel disrespected. Ever since I'd been with him, my income kept climbing. I joked, could you be my lucky charm? Lucas chuckled. You're not bad at attracting fortune yourself. I reached out my hand, satisfied. To a pleasant partnership. He shook my hand in return. To a pleasant partnership. I hadn't seen Ryan in a long time. Just when I was about to completely forget him, he showed up again, looking utterly wrecked. He'd been spiraling lately. The places where he went drag racing were getting more and more dangerous. He spent his nights in bars until the early morning. My social media was flooded with photos of neon lights and drunken parties. I even got a few calls from people telling me he refused to leave unless I showed up. They begged me to talk to him for the sake of our past. Most of those people I blocked. Eventually, things went quiet again. What I didn't expect was that Ryan would end up waiting outside my door. He stood at the entrance, holding a bottle of alcohol, lifeless and drained, like someone who had lost all his will to live. I pretended not to see him and unlocked the door to go inside. But he grabbed my hand. Ryan, I warned quietly, let go. His hand trembled. Just when I was seriously considering calling the police, he released me. I let out a breath and was about to close the door when he finally spoke. I know everything. I paused. What? He looked up at me, eyes glassy, on the verge of tears. Even his lips were trembling. My dad told me, if you hadn't agreed to the engagement back then, he would have brought his illegitimate son home a long time ago. Ryan lifted his arm to cover his eyes. He has a secret son, 2 years younger than me, and I never knew. The day after our engagement was canceled, he brought him into the company. I didn't even realize. Not long ago, he transferred 2% of his shares to him. Still didn't notice. It wasn't until yesterday, when he brought him home and said, "This is your brother, get along." How could I possibly accept that? Has he lost his mind? I beat that bastard up so badly he landed in the hospital, he said. And my dad told me, if it weren't for you, he would have replaced me as heir a long time ago. Ryan dropped his arm. His eyes were red. He asked me, Emma, am I a complete failure? I replied calmly, yes, a total failure. He let out a bitter laugh. I knew it. You really hate me. You won't even give me a shred of sympathy. He was drunk. I didn't want to reason with him. Ryan leaned back against the wall and muttered, I guess I've always been the one left behind. When I was a kid, I always rebelled, pushed back against my father. I thought if I just went against him, I could make him suffer. I thought if I wrecked myself, it would be my revenge. But he'd already given up on me and started grooming someone else. He looked at me with a twisted smile. And you? I kept trying to get your attention, make you care about me, but you stopped liking me long ago. I'm the only one still stuck. You've all moved on. Everyone's moved forward except me. I'm the only one still standing in the same place. You've all abandoned me. None of you ever looked back. None of you waited for me. His words turned into endless, incoherent rambling. He was trapped in his own emotional spiral. I called his closest friend. Not long after, he showed up in a sports car. He looked at me and sighed. You too. What kind of karmic mess is this? I smiled and said nothing. He asked, You really can't give him another chance? I shook my head. You just called it a karmic mess. He clenched his jaw and hauled Ryan up with clear frustration. I knew he'd regret it. Ryan did waste my youth, but beyond that, he hadn't left any real damage. What actually troubled me now was Lucas's parents. Lucas's mom loved beauty and fashion, but there was no way I was going to buy her makeup or skincare products. In the end, I chose a diamond necklace because, let's face it, women love diamonds to death. As for Lucas's dad, the obvious choice was tea. I had a few options and planned to ask Grandpa to help me pick, but after looking them over, he simply tossed me 4 words: tacky and cheap. I sighed. They're already expensive. Grandpa snorted. Wait. A few minutes later, he came back holding a tea cake. Take this. I looked at the plain, minimal packaging. Are you trying to get me kicked out? He rolled his eyes. If they can't recognize quality, that's on them. This single piece is worth 10 of what you're holding. Seriously. Scram. So I took it anyway. Might as well. No reason not to. Before I left, Grandpa gave me a final reminder. When you're at someone else's home, mind your manners. When elders speak, just listen. Don't argue. I was speechless. I wanted to ask, when have I ever argued with anyone? But even thinking that sounded like I was arguing, so I shut my mouth and swallowed the retort. The weekend came quickly. Lucas drove over to pick me up. During the entire ride, I barely said a word. The silence in the car was suffocating. Then suddenly, Lucas reached over and held my hand. What are you doing? Giving you some warmth. You look like you're going to faint before we even arrive. I looked at him, suspicious. You sure you're not just taking advantage of me? Lucas smirked. If I wanted to, I'd already have. Shameless. The atmosphere at Lucas's house was more relaxed than I had expected. His dad's cooking was genuinely good, and his mom, well, she didn't seem to do much other than look beautiful. But she really was stunning. After all, she used to be an actress. They liked the gifts I brought, especially his mom, who immediately put the necklace on with delight. Everything was going well. Until the conversation took a strange turn. His dad asked, "So when do you two plan to get married?" Lucas turned to me. "Yeah, when do you think we should get married?" I wanted to slap him right then. Seriously? Just going to throw me under the bus like that? So I replied, "Whatever Lucas thinks, I'll go along with him." Lucas looked at me, and I raised an eyebrow in challenge. Then he said, "My idea is, get the marriage certificate by the end of this month, wedding at the end of the year." I froze. His mom lit up with joy and immediately started chatting excitedly about wedding planning. Even when we left, I still felt like I was in a fog. One thing was for sure, talking business was a lot easier than talking marriage. Lucas drove me home, and when I got out of the car, he turned serious. "I meant everything I said today," he said. "You can go home and think about it." Think about what? End of the month, marriage certificate. Wedding by the end of the year. He added, "I'm a businessman. I like to add value to my partnerships." That night, lying in bed, I started thinking about marriage. I weighed the pros and cons, analyzed the risks, and put myself into a mental spiral. But after a sip of water, I suddenly had an epiphany. Lucas had basically given me a trick question. I was planning to marry him anyway. Whether it happened sooner or later, did it really matter? Clearly not. So I texted him. "Lucas, you're so annoying," he replied with a question mark. I ignored him and fell asleep with a smile on my face. The next morning I told him, let's set a date to register for the marriage license. Lucas looked at me. "Are you sure?" I blinked. "Weren't we headed toward marriage from the beginning?" He nodded seriously. "Emma, you're incredible." Years later, after our daughter was born, Lucas finally admitted to me that back then he thought girls liked romance, so he had already started planning the perfect proposal. But then he said it again, shaking his head with a smile. "Emma, you're just badass. Allergic to romance? So you just gave up?" "Yeah," Lucas said, smiling. "Didn't want to get mocked by you, Miss Lynn." We had agreed to register our marriage 3 days later. That was also the day Lucas would officially invest in Clearwater Bay. Once we went public with both announcements, it would be a win-win situation. The stock would definitely surge across the board. Today, someone from the Carter family was scheduled to come by and discuss the follow-up to our cooperation. What I didn't expect was that the person sent was Ryan. I was surprised for a couple of seconds, but quickly stood up to shake his hand. "Mr. Carter, nice to see you." Ryan held my hand a little too tightly and didn't let go for several seconds. Miss Lynn, nice to see you too. There wasn't much small talk. We went straight into business. What surprised me even more was that Ryan didn't take this chance to negotiate or make demands. All the contract terms followed the previous agreement to the letter. He said, "Don't worry, Miss Lynn. Our personal matters won't affect our business partnership." I wasn't sure if Ryan had done something behind the scenes, but it didn't really matter. If someone hands you a good deal, only a fool would refuse it. So, we signed the contract with no hesitation. Afterward, Ryan asked, "Miss Lynn, may I take you out to dinner?" Since he had chosen to stay involved with the company, it meant we'd be seeing each other often. There was no point avoiding it, so I replied, "Of course." He picked a restaurant I went to regularly, though this was the first time I'd ever gone there with him. He ordered all my favorite dishes. I pretended not to notice. Raising my glass, I said, "Thank you for the hospitality tonight, Mr. Carter. I hope we have a pleasant working relationship moving forward." Ryan looked at me with a bitter smile. "Do we really have to be this distant? Now that the engagement is off, can't we at least be friends?" "More friends means more options," I replied, setting my glass down. "Of course we can." He froze, visibly unsettled. His expression dimmed. "Do you really not have any feelings for me anymore?" I felt a headache coming on. After all these years of watching him flirt with women left and right, how did I never notice he could actually be this emotional? "Ryan," I said patiently, "since you've decided to stay with the company, then focus on your work. Don't get distracted by anything else." He looked at me with a stubborn glint. "If I do well, would you give me another chance?" I was momentarily lost. Another chance at what? "To be with you, Emma. I'm not giving up on you." I didn't know how to gently tell him that I was getting married in 3 days. "Ryan, you can do anything you want, just not for me. I'm not responsible for your life." "That's why you never tried to stop me," he said. "You let me do whatever I wanted. But if I ever crossed your line, you'd just kick me out of your life, wouldn't you?" His voice rose, emotions getting the best of him. I looked at him. "So now you're blaming me?" His eyes flickered with panic. "No, that's not what I meant." I rubbed my temples. "Ryan, I'm 1 year younger than you. Everything I've built, I crawled through hell to get. I don't even know if the path I'm on is the right one. So why do you think I owe you advice? Like I said, you can do whatever you want. Just don't drag me into it. I won't take responsibility for your choices." I stood up, ready to leave. Ryan reached out to stop me, but before he could, the door to the private room opened. Lucas stepped inside. "The manager told me you were here." I walked over and took his arm. "Let me introduce you. This is Lucas, my husband." I didn't even look at Ryan's face, but I could sense the blood draining from it. I pulled Lucas with me as we left. "What? I'm not allowed to use my husband now," I teased. "Didn't we register already? The law recognizes it, right? So can't I exercise a little spousal privilege in advance?" Lucas chuckled under his breath and laced his fingers with mine. "Of course you can, Mrs. Grant." But Ryan seemed to have been completely triggered by that. Ignoring the setting, he grabbed my arm. "Don't do this," he pleaded. "Emma, please don't treat me like this. You're lying to me, aren't you? You're just trying to get back at me, right?" His eyes were full of desperation. Before I could say anything, Lucas stepped forward, pulling me behind him. "Have some self-respect, Mr. Carter," Lucas said coldly. "Get lost." Ryan's eyes turned red with rage. "Give her back to me." Lucas smirked. "Mr. Carter, your engagement's already been dissolved." Then Ryan threw a punch at Lucas. "This is between me and Emma. It has nothing to do with you." I never expected him to get physical. I gasped and instinctively tried to step between them, but Lucas had already moved. He dodged effortlessly and countered, slamming Ryan against the wall. "You okay?" Lucas asked, glancing at me with concern. Ryan, who had been looking at me a moment ago, now had nothing left in his eyes, just emptiness. That's when my patience snapped. "Ryan, this is just pathetic. Whether you really regret it or not, it doesn't matter anymore. The engagement is over. So please, swallow your feelings whole, chew them up with your teeth, bleed if you have to, but keep them to yourself. Don't come looking for me again." Lucas and I walked down to the underground parking lot. Just before I got in the car, he tugged my hand. "What is it?" I asked. He looked at me, smiling with a glint in his eye. Miss Lynn, you're pretty cool. I think I'm starting to like you. I raised an eyebrow. Only starting to? Lucas grinned. Fine, I like you more than a little. I tried to pull my hand away, but he tightened his grip. So, Miss Lynn, do I get your approval? We've already partnered up. We're getting married. Might even spend our whole lives together. I wouldn't mind growing feelings for you. 2 days later, Lucas and I got up early and went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Our assistant had already taken care of the registration number for us. We stood shoulder to shoulder, head to head, and took a photo for our marriage certificate. Honestly, my heart did beat a little faster in that moment. We got the license as fast as possible, then rushed back to the company. Lucas officially invested in the Clearwater Bay project. At the same time, our company website published the announcement of our partnership and our marriage certificate. Congratulations on the wedding, Mr. Grant. Looking forward to working with you. Congratulations, Mrs. Grant. Likewise, looking forward to it. After registering, we moved in together. We picked one of the properties under his name, close to both our offices. We worked well together, and we lived well together too. It made everything in my life feel more balanced and fulfilled. Riding that wave of momentum, I started expanding my business empire. I wanted a hand in anything that made money. What could I say? With someone powerful at my back, I was bold enough to try anything. Before long, people started calling us the power couple of profit. I didn't mind the title at all. I hadn't paid attention to Ryan's news in a long time. The next time I heard about him, he had already been sent out of the country. That piqued my curiosity. His father had always been disappointed in him. Grooming the illegitimate son wasn't just about having a backup plan. It was also a way to pressure Ryan, a classic catfish effect. It was the kind of power play people who thought they had dynasties to pass on love to use, like Ryan's father. Like my grandfather. But truly giving up on Ryan? That was unlikely, especially since he had just started doing real work in the company. So what had actually happened? I asked Lucas. He replied offhandedly. He tried to take me down. His dad found out. Take you down how? Lucas explained. He wanted to sabotage the business, take our deals by force, regardless of cost or consequences. But he had no real authority in the company. The moment he tried to implement anything, his father found out. They had a huge fight. Ryan said he wouldn't let me have peace. That kind of emotional recklessness was the final straw that made his father lose all hope in him. To keep Ryan from causing more trouble, his father simply sent him out of the country. You weren't going to tell me? I asked. Lucas gave me a sidelong glance. Tell you what? That your ex-fiancé chose love over legacy? You think I'm that bored? Lucas, of course, wasn't bored. He was incredibly busy. Between managing business and preparing for our end-of-year wedding, he had his hands full. I jokingly suggested outsourcing the wedding and getting sponsorship deals. As soon as I said that, Lucas got annoyed. I was about to say more when he kissed me, and kept kissing me, until I completely forgot what I wanted to say. Later, the wedding he'd planned was extravagant, almost like a dream. Ryan showed up too, dressed impeccably, as if he were here to stop the ceremony, but he didn't do anything. He just sat quietly, and left quietly. After we said our vows, Lucas leaned in and kissed me. Mrs. Grant, he whispered. For the rest of our lives, I'm counting on you.